Okay, so according to AARP, the top #1 regret purchase for retirees is a boat. Yeah, we can all relate to that probably. We know a friend who's bought a boat, or we bought a boat. I actually have 2 boats. And for me, it wasn't that bad a purchase because I'm a big fisherman. As a matter of fact, my first YouTube channel is on fishing sonar products. So anyway, #1 is a boat. And what you got to look at is how far are you away from a lake or a marina where you can launch the boat, and talk to some people around you who have a boat and let them kind of guide you as to how hard it is to get on the water and off the water. Because if you're not mooring your boat, or if you're not keeping it in a marina, sometimes getting the boat in and out of the water can be a hassle. Now me, I have a small boat, so it's not that big a deal. My lake is about 15 miles away. So for me, I don't consider it a bad purchase. All right, so let's move on to the second top regret, which is moving into a retirement home. Now, I don't know anything about that. My budget's not going to allow me to actually move to a resort, but a lot of retirees feel like their sense of fulfillment isn't there in a retirement home. Or I shouldn't say a retirement home, a retirement resort. So that is the #2 regret purchase, is moving to a retirement place. And for us, we didn't look at a retirement resort, but we looked at maybe downsizing and moving to a different place. But all our grandkids and all our kids still live here in Texas, and most of them live within about 20 miles. So for us, moving really wasn't an option. You know, we want to be close to our children. So anyway, that's #2. So #3 is buying an RV. Again, this is one where my wife and I, we bought a motorhome, a very modest motorhome, to travel around in when we were 50 years old. And we just absolutely love that thing. And it's a great way to travel, but it's not for everybody. And if you stay till the end of the video, I'll tell you a little checklist that you can have as to how much maintenance, how much cost, and how much you're going to spend on this particular asset. Not an RV, but any asset that you're going to buy. So anyway, RVing can be a great way to explore America or wherever you're at. And we really like ours, but you have to be a certain type of person. If you're the type of person who just wants to roll up and enjoy your vacation, well, an RV might not be it, because believe it or not, they're not the most reliable thing in the world. They're really not. And if you're not pretty good with your hands and carry some tools with you, you know, a couple of breakdowns can really set you back. And there's a lot of little things that can go wrong with an RV. So make sure that that kind of fits into your style. And one thing you might do, you might take a vacation and rent an RV. You see these rental RVs going down the highway all the time, and that might be a good spot to just try it out. So there we are with the #3 big regret. Hey, before we go much further, I'd really appreciate it. This is a new channel. If you'd take a minute to go ahead and like this and leave a comment, just let me know where you're from. You know, that's fine. A thumbs up. Hey, you're doing great. Because that'll help this video reach more people if you'd go ahead and boop that like button and subscribe. All right, so #4 on the list is buying your dream house. I actually know a couple of people who've done this. One went out and purchased their dream home right before they retired. The other is a retirement couple who is building their dream house. So kind of different models for that, but buying or building your dream house is going to take up a lot of your cash, or a lot of your, monthly expenses that you could be spending on travel or other things. You get tied up into a house. And I'm going to tell you right now, building a new house, if you get a really good contractor and a really good, building manager, it can be okay, but there can be some real nightmares with that as well. And meeting schedules, yeah, contractor meeting schedules, that's not likely to happen. So Anyway, think twice before you move and build your dream house. Even if it's in the location you want, you might want to go ahead and just use the equity in your existing home to buy or downsize a new home. But when you put a lot of money into it, it can really cramp your lifestyle because, you know, the higher the cost of the house, the more insurance you have, the higher property taxes, you know, because you got to add escrow into that as well. So think long and hard before you build or purchase your new dream home. Okay, and number 5 is a timeshare. And you know, we've all heard about timeshares over the years. And I know a few people who have them, and I don't know, you know, of course they hadn't retired yet, and they really didn't have any big regrets with it. But you know, a timeshare is that gift that just keeps on giving. And you're locked into these rates that you don't know when they're going to go up or how much it's going to cost. And although you might think, hey, I'm doing a great thing for my children. Look, they'll have this timeshare. Well, it might be a burden that they really don't want. In my particular case, I don't think a timeshare would do my children any good at all. You know, they're not travelers. They're building their careers, and you know, when they do travel, a lot of the time it's with us. So it would be nice to have a timeshare, but to be honest with you, the cost of an Airbnb, I mean, seriously, take a look at Airbnbs. And if you're not hung up on the, you know, fancy home with the pool and all, you can get an Airbnb very reasonable. As a matter of fact, when we went down to Corpus Christi earlier this year, we actually saved money getting an Airbnb over just getting, you know, a room at the Holiday Inn Express. So anyway, take a look at Airbnbs before you buy that timeshare. And number 6, the last one, is the one that kind of I would like to do, but I've held back from doing, and that's buying a fancy or restoring an older car. You know, to me, that would be a lot of fun. If you look back behind me here, I've got a big shop, and I think it would be. And in my earlier days, I wouldn't say restore cars, but I painted a few, kind of fixed them up a little bit for the kids when they went to high school. And, you know, it's a really fun hobby, but it's a lot of work and it takes up space. You know, when you're restoring a car, you've got a pretty big amount of your garage that's going to be sitting there with just a car. And if you do it right, it could take a year or two to get that thing restored. Now, just buying a fancy car, you know, buying a Corvette or a Cadillac or something like that, again, kind of comes into how do you want to spend your resources? What do you want your monthly budget to look like? Because buying a new car may really sound great, but if you get those payments up too high, and we know how high car prices have gotten, you know, that can really crimp in on your particular budget. Now, what we did, we bought a quality used car for traveling, which we needed, so it doesn't really fall into this. But what we did find, and I didn't do I did all the research except this, was I didn't know the cost of a Subaru insurance was going to be that high. You know, we have a Jeep, which is you know, a later model Jeep, and the actual insurance on the Jeep is lower than the Subaru. So they're both, you know, the Jeep is worth more, but for some reason the Subaru insurance is higher. So take a look at that first before you buy that new fancy car. So here, like I promised you, here's a little bit of a checklist or some things to think about before you buy a boat, timeshare, you know, fancy car, something like that. Number 1 is the overall cost. Now take into consideration the taxes on it, the insurance, and the maintenance. Now I'm going to tell you, maintenance costs, like say on a boat, you know, boat stands for break out another 1,000. It really does, because they are expensive to maintain. Now the second one is how much are you going to use it? We bought a boat when we lived in New York, and then we moved up to Maine. And it didn't take long to figure out that we had a very narrow window that we were able to use that boat. So, you know, we went ahead and sold it. It just didn't make sense to have that boat up in Maine. Now, you know, maybe it is, maybe it's not. But take a look at the maintenance costs of whatever you're going to buy. You know, we have a lot of ATVs and UTVs that we go down to the local national park and we ride around all the time in. And if you use them all the time, yeah, they are kind of expensive, but we get a lot of enjoyment out of those. So take a look at the maintenance cost and how much you're going to use them. You know, because a lot of things you buy, they sound great, you can use them during the summer, but then they just sit there all winter long. And, you know, you're paying insurance on them, you might have a monthly payment that you're paying for, and that's where the regret sets in, okay? So initial cost, cost of maintenance, and how much am I going to use it? So I hope this video's helped you, and go ahead and watch this video next.